I mean, I internalized that as opportunity. Like, we had such a responsibility to this audience to deliver something for a passionate group of people.
Yeah.
I was so excited about that. I would so much rather have that than people who are indifferent.
Blasé.
She said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
Were you reading romance novels?
She said, just trust me, read it. So I read it. I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, I got snot coming out of my nose.
It's believing that people and humanity are inherently good.
And being frank, if it were not for women giving me direct feedback in my own personal life, being a man who was willing to at least listen to them, there's no chance that I would be having this conversation. So the message, to answer your question, as men, we need to embrace all of the parts of us.
Yeah.
I'm honored, and I'm also more honored that because, what we're talking about is so important and so meaningful.
You had a key part in bringing it to the big screen. How did this all come to be?
I read the book. I was sent the book by my book agent and friend at the time, and I was looking for films that could inspire, that were able to have this much anticipation, and so many people want to go see it and are talking about it. Like, that's what I'm grateful for.
Better. I think I would have been a much more patient person. I think my father would have felt way less alone.
Brace yourselves, because the legal face-off between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni just took a turn that nobody saw coming. Allegations are flying, and each new twist in this explosive drama seems more jaw-dropping than the last. One minute, she's threatening to subpoena his private texts. The next, she's reportedly launching verbal grenades at The Hollywood Reporter for daring to tell the world what's really going on. Can you believe how fast this is spiraling? It's as if every hour, another layer peels back, and we catch a glimpse of someone who might be orchestrating a massive cover-up. Let's just say, if you thought Hollywood was immune to cunning power plays and entitled outbursts, think again, because this isn't just a case of big names in a big fight, it's the unmasking of an image-obsessed star who'll apparently stop at nothing to keep her secrets buried. And the bigger question, how much further will she go now that the spotlight is locked on her every move? Think about it. Not only has Blake Lively allegedly tried to get her hands on 3 years' worth of Justin Baldoni's personal messages, but she's also rumored to have threatened a major media outlet for publishing less than flattering revelations. If that doesn't scream desperation, I don't know what does. So, buckle up. Because once we dig into the behind-the-scenes stunts, the meltdown moments, and the hush-hush evidence about to be unveiled, you might find yourself looking at Blake in a very different light. Let's kick off this wild saga with the subpoena bombshell. Word is, Blake Lively stormed into a recent legal hearing determined to expose Justin Baldoni by accessing every single text he's sent for the last 3 years. 3 years. That's an eternity in Hollywood time, especially if you're trying to keep controversies or shady dealings under wraps. Naturally, people are asking, what in the world is she hoping to find in all those messages? Did Justin say something incriminating? Or is this a frantic fishing expedition? A way for her to spin the narrative and claim Justin's the real schemer? We've heard rumors that her legal team demanded access to these texts as part of a broader strategy to show Justin might be withholding evidence. But it backfired in a spectacular way, because apparently she got shut down hard. The court refused her request, which has only ignited more speculation. Why was her demand denied? And why did she push so fiercely to secure those private conversations? In the first place, sure, it could be a routine legal maneuver, but something about this entire play feels personal. Like she's convinced there's a stash of secrets that'll make her look like the victim. Someone who's been wronged by an opponent she claims has far too much to hide. Naturally, rumors are swirling across Hollywood. Maybe she's paranoid that Justin's text could reveal her own questionable moves, snippets of behind-the-scenes power plays, or even direct manipulation attempts. Some insiders whisper that the real reason she wants to see Justin's messages is to get ahead of any damaging revelations he might unleash against her. Others say she's on a mission to silence Justin's allies before they speak out. Whatever. The reason, it's become a massive bone of contention, turning what was already a heated legal clash into an all-out war of accusations, subpoenas, and strategic misdirection. And here's the kicker. The moment the court said no, Blake's camp reportedly flipped. Calls were made, furious discussions erupted in hallways. People who'd otherwise be calm, professional attorneys were caught in frantic whispers about how they'd just lost a major advantage in the case. It's a fiasco that begs the question, what kind of scorched earth tactics will Blake try next? As if this subpoena fiasco wasn't enough, Blake soon found herself at odds with yet another formidable adversary, The Hollywood Reporter. This. Venerable publication dared to run a story outlining her legal fight with Justin, and from the moment it hit the press, everything erupted. People connected to the outlet claim Blake's team fired off letters, emails, possibly even frantic midnight phone calls, demanding retractions, clarifications, or outright apologies for printing unverified allegations. But let's be real, rarely does a publication with that level of credibility back down unless they truly messed up. They're in the business of reporting, not cowering to star power. What exactly was in that article that caused such an uproar? Insiders say it mentioned Blake's attempts to gain sweeping access to Justin's private communications and hinted at her behind-the-scenes meltdown when she didn't get her way. It also laid out the rumor that she'd threatened to go nuclear if certain details went public. Details that, ironically, are now the talk of the town. So, in typical scorched earth fashion, she allegedly lashed out at the reporter who wrote it, and even the editorial staff, implying dire consequences if they didn't pull back or publish a glowing retraction. Can you imagine the audacity? But it gets juicier. The Hollywood Reporter, unflinching, published a follow-up piece that added more color to this unfolding drama. According to that piece, the tension didn't stop with a few stern letters. It escalated to veiled legal warnings, maybe even borderline intimidation. Cue more speculation. Is Blake Lively trying to muzzle the press because she's terrified that her meticulously curated public image is on the brink of collapse? Or is she just outraged that what she calls falsehoods are being spread? Depending on who you ask, she's either a cornered victim or a puppet master who's used to controlling the narrative. Until now. Now, let's dive into the meltdown moments fueling all the frenzy. Picture it. Behind the polished smiles and glammed-up red carpet appearances, Blake is rumored to be pacing the floors of her luxurious home, making furious calls to her legal team, and ripping into anyone who suggests she tone down the aggression. Think of the behind-closed-doors meltdown that's allegedly so intense. Even her longtime friends can't ignore the cracks in her sunny facade. Confidential voicemails are said to be full of her raging about disloyal people and unscrupulous reporters, as if the entire entertainment world is suddenly out to get her. Some of the hush-hush details floating around the gossip mill reference urgent text messages from Blake to associates, demanding they clamp down on any chatter about her tactics. She's apparently worried that if the full extent of her behind-the-scenes maneuvering becomes public knowledge, she'll lose whatever sympathy she might have had in the court of public opinion. After all, for years, she's been seen as the charming sweetheart, an actress with a squeaky clean image, known for fashionable looks and clever interviews. But if these stories of meltdown-level rage prove even half true, that persona could crumble quicker than any fan would have predicted. Observers claim that if you wander into any industry event these days, lounges at award shows, VIP dinners, cocktail receptions, you'll find hushed discussions about how unhinged she's become since the subpoena request got slapped down. Some say she's blaming everyone but herself, claiming sabotage by Justin's legal team, branding the media as vultures, and even accusing longtime acquaintances of betrayal. The tension is so high that you can practically see the power brokers in her orbit inching away, not wanting to be caught in the blast radius if this fiasco escalates beyond control. Here's where things really intensify. Underneath the sweetheart facade, rumors suggest Blake Lively's been deploying a range of manipulative strategies to maintain an iron grip on both the narrative and the people around her. Think intimidation, rumor-mongering, cunning half-truths, basically a meticulously crafted scheme to ensure her version of events is the only one that sticks. Some call it savvy PR, while others label it outright bullying. Either way, the whispered accounts of her approach leave no doubt she's playing hardball to protect her brand. And it's not just the press or Justin Baldoni feeling the heat. There are whispers that some of her close friends and colleagues have found themselves cornered by Blake's pointed questions and veiled threats. Reports claim she's demanded loyalty statements, some kind of vow to keep her out of the crosshairs of further controversy. One well-placed source even suggested she offered industry favors in exchange for public support during this scandal. It's like a real-life chess match, except the pieces are people's reputations and livelihoods. And Blake's apparently not afraid to sacrifice a few pawns if it means saving her own queen. What's truly eye-opening is how thoroughly she's managed to keep so many folks in line, up until now at least. When the story of that failed subpoena broke, so did this carefully woven web of silence. Suddenly, people who once feared Blake's wrath are speaking out, albeit anonymously. They talk about how she is entitled, how she always wants the final word, and how she threatens to bring the roof down if she doesn't get exactly what she wants. And that's why this entire ordeal feels like the unmasking. of a performer who used to shape the script of her public life with flawless precision, only to discover that, in a real legal fight, illusions don't hold up nearly as well. Now, let's talk about the evidence that's rumored to be trickling out. Evidence that, if verified, could blow Blake's entire stance to smithereens. Word on the street is that a few bold individuals within her orbit have grown fed up with her manipulative methods and decided to leak voice notes, text snippets, or other telling artifacts that paint a stark contrast to her victim narrative. One particularly sensational rumor claims there's an audio recording capturing her threatening an industry insider, telling them in no uncertain terms that if they dare cross her, she'll see to it that their career is over. Outrageous? Possibly, but if it's real, it's a testament to how far she's allegedly willing to go. Of course, in typical fashion, Blake's team has labeled these alleged leaks as baseless or out of context. They say it's all a smear campaign, orchestrated by individuals who want to see her fail or who might be siding with Justin. But here's a detail that stands out. These so-called leaked materials didn't all come out at once. Instead, they've been appearing in waves, as if someone behind the scenes is carefully timing each new reveal to generate maximum fallout. And each fresh wave signals that we're nowhere near the bottom of this scandalous pit. Picture the emotional roller coaster this must be causing behind the scenes. Blake, used to controlling her own press narrative, is now faced with the possibility that fragments of her private words could become headline news at any moment. It's a vulnerability that not even her staunchest defenders can spin away easily, because if these clips continue to emerge, the court of public opinion may turn even more brutal. So, buckle up. We may only be scratching the surface of the meltdown to come. Meanwhile, what about Justin Baldoni in all this? Far from backing down, it looks like he's got a few cards of his own to play. Friends of Justin, and maybe a few people in his legal team, have been hinting that he's prepared to drop another set of revelations if Blake persists with what he sees as intimidation tactics. This is the part that has onlookers enthralled, because while Blake's been dominating the headlines, Justin's kept a relatively low profile. That quiet confidence suggests he's been gathering evidence or forging alliances behind the scenes. One rumor claims Justin has records, call logs, emails, or messages from third parties that could directly contradict Blake's official statements in court. If those records come to light, they might show a pattern of misleading claims on her part, effectively dismantling her entire legal approach. And let's not forget that the court refusing her subpoena request didn't just leave Blake empty-handed, it also gave Justin's team a huge morale boost. Now, they're more motivated than ever to fight back with guns blazing if she tries another aggressive stunt. Speculation is rampant that Justin might file a motion of his own, aiming to expose Blake's behind-the-scenes antics. He could demand a protective order against her alleged smear campaigns, or push the court to scrutinize her real motives for insisting on such invasive discovery. If Justin does make a bold move like that, the spectacle could escalate beyond a typical celebrity lawsuit and become a cautionary tale of what happens when manipulative strategies collide with unyielding opposition. Translation, we might witness a legal and public relations showdown that's bigger and more dramatic than anything else in recent Hollywood memory. All of this chaos isn't happening in a vacuum. Hollywood is notorious for rallying around big stars, until it doesn't. There's an increasing sense that the industry is cooling on Blake Lively, at least while these allegations remain unresolved. Insiders report that some production companies are skittish about attaching her to new projects, worried that her off-screen drama might overshadow any positive buzz their films or shows could generate. PR teams across town are advising their clients to be cautious when discussing the case publicly, fearing that any perceived alliance might draw unwanted heat. At the same time, rumors suggest a few high-profile colleagues are quietly distancing themselves from her. It's not that they're necessarily declaring her guilty in the court of public opinion, but they know how Hollywood works. Once a scandal hits a certain fever pitch, self-preservation dictates stepping away until the dust settles. A-listers have a lot to lose if they end up entangled in what's fast becoming a swirling tornado of accusations and possible legal ramifications. This climate of uncertainty has stoked speculation that a high-profile meltdown could be brewing. At any moment, someone might break ranks and publicly testify to seeing Blake meltdown behind the scenes, or a top agent might confirm that she threatened them. If that happens, the ripple effect could transform this from a he said, she said, spat into a full-on industry reckoning. The entire entertainment world is watching, waiting, and whispering. And with the pace at which new allegations are surfacing, it's safe to say we haven't heard the last of these shocking developments. So here we stand. at the edge of a Hollywood battlefield where reputations are on the line and alliances are tested daily. Blake Lively started as the picture of charm and sophistication, a widely admired figure with a spotless track record. Yet, behind the glittering veneer, we're now hearing about subpoena showdowns, furious threats, leaked recordings, and an ironclad determination to rule her own narrative at any cost. Every fresh rumor, every piece of alleged evidence pokes, gaping holes in that once pristine image, leaving us to wonder if she's the real puppet master at work. Will these desperate tactics finally backfire and tarnish her career forever? Or is she so skilled at spinning the story in her favor that in the end, all of this uproar fades into a footnote, leaving her triumphant once again? That's the question rattling every conversation from Hollywood press rooms to fan forums online. If you ask me, a downfall seems far more likely than a clean exit. The more she thrashes against the media, the more people suspect she's got something to hide. And if Justin Baldoni steps forward with a damning piece of evidence, watch out. That could be the final blow that flips public opinion permanently. Because here's the cold truth. You can't keep threatening everyone around you, from journalists to legal opponents, without consequence. Sooner or later, the house of cards comes crashing down, and the persona you worked so tirelessly to uphold is replaced by the chaos you sowed behind the scenes. Yes, in a perfect scenario, maybe she's just misunderstood. Maybe she's simply trying to safeguard her private life from an invasive spotlight. But come on, where there's smoke, there's usually a raging inferno, and given the avalanche of claims against her, it seems like that once luminous star power might be no match for the revelations swirling around her. Ultimately, the real question is how far Blake Lively's willing to push these manipulative, high-stakes maneuvers before she hits a wall of no return, as we wait to see if Justin Baldoni's next move will be the one that topples her defenses. For good, the entire industry is bracing for a final confrontation, one that could redefine the way we think about celebrity feuds, media freedom, and the lengths a star will go to protect a carefully cultivated image. Don't blink, because the next chapter of this fiasco might just blow everything else out of the water. And when that moment comes, you'll want to be front and center to witness the reckoning that even Hollywood can't gloss over. So here's my final word to all of you watching this disaster unfold. Keep your eyes peeled and your jaws ready to drop, because the battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni is far from finished. And if the latest threats, leaks, and desperate legal gambits are any indication, we're only now stepping into the heart of the storm. Let's see who emerges victorious, and who gets exposed as the orchestrator of one of the most cunning smear campaigns Tinseltown has ever seen.